panel will be going just into a deep dive into some of the discussions, because what happens is the first part in which they get to engage with us in their respective topics is more of a sort of like a teaser. And then the panel discussion just allows us to get more into discussion. So just to kick it off, I have framed a few questions, but you guys are more than welcome to ask questions outside of my line of answering or my line of questions. And that from there kind of creates the base as them being drivers of discussion in terms of what we can unpack when it comes to climate change. The topic is broad, and like I said earlier, they're all in the same field, touching in various parts or aspects of this particular topic called climate change. So I think from my side, just to kick off the panel discussion, I'll ask a few questions. I'll start on my far right with Gary, and I'll work my way to Lusanda and Sia. I think one of the most important questions I need to kick off the discussion with you, Gary, is it too late? In terms of, will the actions that we take today be enough to mitigate the effects of climate change?
So the answer is it's too late for me. So as you can see, I'm a bit of a madala. I'm not a youngster anymore, even though I think that that's a myth. I think I can run faster than anyone in the room here, but we'll have to challenge that. We'll have to see whether that's true. The important thing to understand about climate change and carbon is that it has what we call a lag effect. So it takes a long time to see it, and it takes a long time to do something about it. So if we wait, by the time we then see it, it's too late to do anything on that day. So there's that old saying, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago, the next best time is today. And that's really what we're talking about here. So for those of you so I think probably the majority of the people in this room are born after the 90s. So most of you have never seen apartheid. You've never seen what it looked like in terms of, I would go into the front of a shop, and Lusandia next to me would go to the back of the shop. You never saw that. You never saw that we sat on different buses and different seats. So you read about it in books and that. When you my age, Madala like me, your children will be saying, hey, what did it look like to have birds in the tree? What did it look like to have green grass around you and that stuff? Because that's the change that's kind of coming. Is it too late? For some of us, it's too late, but it's not too late to ever act. We now understand what's causing it, and we started yesterday, we continue today, and we do more stuff tomorrow.
Thank you for that, Gary. And you spoke about birds in the sky, green grass, and in terms of, there are certain communities who don't have the privilege, especially your local, more peripheral or peri-urban communities, and even townships. Lusanda, I know you work a lot with townships, especially the Motherwell community. And those are usually the marginalized communities where waste is a regular feature in its aesthetic, especially in PE. If you drive down Mission Vale, PE is the waste capital of probably Eastern Cape or South Africa, I may say. And these marginalized communities, how can we ensure that these communities who are affected disproportionately by climate change are included in the climate change actions or efforts?
Hello again, everyone. Am I audible? Okay. Thank you so much, Amandla. It is so real. It is so real that even when we were driving in to here, the kids in the bus actually noted that the cows were eating plastic, and that plastic is at a dump site. So when you say it's like a feature, it's sort of like, how can I say it? It's an accessory that is so bad that we shouldn't have, but it is there because our people are not aware. Number one, they do not really understand what happens in that process, and also there's overconsumption. We really are consuming, in as much as we don't really have much, but we consume a lot, and we end up, and then there's also the development of informal settlements. So at first I would usually judge abantu bana, why belahla phandle, why kunjena. Like the place you just mentioned, there's a rise of an informal settlement in Mission Vale. which is heading towards National Road. So that waste that you see is actually from that informal settlement, because I don't think the government has thought of ways of what do we do with these, managing the waste within these informal settlements. So you find that the lack of resources is there for communities which are marginalized, and then also the lack of awareness. And also, really, our issues are stomach issues. How can you be coming to me and talking to me about climate change when I'm hungry? I mean, I've got better things to do. I'm unemployed. I'm stressed. I'm pushed against the wall. So why must I listen to you when you're talking to me about climate change? What's climate change, first of all? And then it brings me to the thought of last week, where us as young black kids were sitting in a room and actually trying to develop ideas and what social enterprises we could do. And our first thing that came to mind, to Bali and I's mind, is that how do we define climate change in isiXhosa? What is climate change in isiXhosa? Because when you go to a community and you want to talk to umakhulu, you can't come there and say, "Makhulu, ndicela niyeke ulahla. Makhulu, ndicela niplante igadi like how you used to because of climate change." Umakhulu uza kujonga uba yintoni climate change. So I think also the information and how relatable and how relevant it is to people within communities which are marginalized is also very important. And I think it's for people like Gary and myself who are interested and part of the conversation to say, we want ways where everyone feels included, and we're not only telling them act, but we're telling them in a way that they understand.
So we need to find a way to just kind of position ourselves in channeling this information, because climate change is the new pandemic technically, but it's a slow-moving pandemic. You know, it's not the wild and ripple effect that COVID had. So okay, now I'm with you on that one. And I think naturally our communities would benefit from the moving of information. And moving on to Sia. Sia, you've had Wings for Change for close to 10 years now, and obviously over time, it's you're not operating in silo. You're working in communities, you're working with stakeholders and the like. Now, how can we build stronger partnerships between government, businesses, NGOs, and other stakeholders to tackle climate change collaboratively?
Oh, I want to go back to her question and mix it in with your question. I'm always of a different. I used to share her sentiments, but as you continue with this work, you build different opinions, and I'm a person who likes to hold people accountable. And as much as our communities are disenfranchised to a certain degree, we need to speak about our communities taking responsibilities for where they are. People of every single race. And I always give this example. Our great-great-parents, ogogo bethu, babelima, and enevejpa, they would live. My great-grandmother died in 2022 when she was 100 and something. They used to live permaculture, even though they didn't call it permaculture. They used to plant trees. They used to grow their own vegetables. And what we are bringing in these workshops, Gary knows we run workshops all over the show for the past 10 years. We are not bringing new information. People have always known to grow their own food, to plant trees, to take care of to harvest water in the water tanks, etc., etc., etc. But a lot of that knowledge is ignored in a lot of township communities. And I speak harshly for township communities because that's where my love is and that's where my focus is. And it's not a matter of always saying our people are disenfranchised, our people need to take responsibility to some degree. And where they lack resources, then we can assist them. I cannot give you a number of the cleanups your Kevins and your Garys organize. And then you come back the next week and it's even worse than before. And that speaks to, number one, the responsibility of our people to say, okay, these NGOs are coming in to help where they can. Our responsibility then is to say, we will sustain this by working with municipal, even if the municipal truck is late on a particular week, because there are those instances where you'll find that the municipality truck didn't come to collect the trash this week, etc. Those challenges exist even in where I stay in Sherwood, which is your quote-unquote white communities. But I have the responsibility of sending the councillor a long email to say, the trash wasn't picked up, what's the problem? That happens, I'm sure that happens in Summer Strand sometimes. You have to know the channels of addressing issues in your community. It's your responsibility. And it's not a matter of, I hear people saying, you councillor Rasebens, and then what we'll do, we'll organize a big group of people and we'll go sing in front of the councillor's house or the councillor's office. And it ends there. But it's accompanied with the burning of tires, the burning of this. And what I'm always advocating for, when we are organizing to address our issues, your illegal dumping sites, whatever issue that may arise, we do it in a manner that is going to be sustainable, not just for us as grown-ups, but for kids, so that when our kids who are here presenting today need to address an issue, they know the proper way of addressing it. I've said a mouthful, I'm going to pause there, and then you can remind me of your question again.
All right. No, so...
but that makes sense.
No, I hear you completely.
Ne? It makes sense.
So my other question was just about building stronger relationships and partnerships with businesses, NGOs, and other stakeholders.
So we operate as an NGO. We don't work for profit. We work so that we can get the work done. And we are able to achieve this through partnerships. And we've had a lot of partnerships in the last few years. The beginning was, it was just me and that lady there. It was very difficult in the beginning because we were building a name and we were building a reputation, which we are very proud of today. Partnerships are the backbone of any non-profit organization because you need like-minded corporates. You need like-minded business people who have the funds, to give you resources. Sometimes when we were starting out, we didn't have money to buy trash bags, and people came on board to say, this is how we'll help you. Partnerships don't need to be monetary. Partnerships can be knowledge sharing. I've been sent to workshops all over the country where I've built my knowledge on the work that I do. No one in this city can grow vegetables better than me. I stand on that. I always post that on Instagram. There can be people who do other things better than me, but you're not going to grow vegetables better than I can. So partnerships are vital because, number one, you cannot work in one corner. We used to be so focused on the Motherwell area because that's what we could sustain. But you want to replicate projects all over the city. Today, because of our partnerships, we are all over. We're in Utenig, we're in the Coast and Shore area, we're in Zwide, we're in New Brighton. And that's really based on partnerships. So even in the schools, I think the kids were asking about how can they start things in schools. Get people in your schools. I think this is where where the township schools fail. They what's the word when you cordon off yourself? They keep to themselves. But the more you invite people into your schools, even if they're going to showcase, these girls showcase things at the school, invite your Garys, invite your people to see what the school is doing so that people can bring added knowledge to the work that you are already doing.
Right. I want to really get into the heart of soul of this because what we're talking about here is a lot. And what I'm gathering is that there's a lot of information out there. And you're speaking about a responsibility issue. And yes, we ought to take ownership. But the code shifting in my mind today has been a result of education and not just information. What role, and I want to send this to Gary, because a number of those statistics that were put up there, especially in the change of temperature in the Nelson Mandela Bay over the past 50 years, that for me was a huge, this thing is urgent and it's now. What role does education play? Because, we're all aware of more especially when it comes to the issue of waste and how that affects climate change, but there are other layers of this. What role does education play in ensuring that there is this climate change awareness and there's a change of behavior and culture to ensure sustainability?
Hello, and I'm back. What role does education play? I think it's a difficult question. You know, the one statistic I haven't mentioned is that since we started talking climate change, so I think since, I don't know if you know the movie The Inconvenient Truth, that was done by the Deputy President Al Gore. Yeah. Since he brought out that movie, we've doubled our carbon emissions. So I'm not sure. I think education plays a role in terms of that we have to educate everyone about the urgency of the action, what can be done, where it can be done. But I really think that the core to this thing isn't that people are uneducated. It is about our lifestyles, you know. And so when you move to a city, you move away from the farm, because if you're a farmer, it's a tough life. In a city, it's a lot easier just to go down the road to your ShopRite and buy your vegetables in packaging. They've cut it to size for you. They've cut the things off. So our lifestyles are about convenience, not about. And I think the education isn't, in my mind, about kids sitting in a school and a teacher teaching you. Our education, I think, is about reflecting on us as humans, as a species on this planet, and that the question there was, do we face extinction? And so philosophers call it an existential crisis, which means that the species is potentially at the point of no return. So we won't die off, but we are kind of dinosaurs with a brain, and the comet is us. So I think the focus is there has been a lot of education. I don't think that education per se is the issue. I think it's how we educate and what we do with that education that is the thing. I don't know. Can I just say that part of the networking is I've met a fantastic group and belong with and engaged with them a long time. The Eastcape Combined Environmental Forum. And they have a term for climate change. Is it called a term for climate change? And if they could just say it, because I, as a Mlungu, I can't get the click. I know there is clicks in it, and I've tried to practice it, but my apologies. It's either because I'm a Mlungu or because I'm Madala, or maybe because I'm both.
A combination of both.
So Mam Linda is here. Well, Malachi, what's the cause and word for climate change?
Can we just have one person perhaps just share it for us? All right, 100%.
Okay, now you can see why I struggle.
Now that'll take you. That'll be a long one. But thank you so much for that. That's actually a beautiful word. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not my panel. I was just kind of greasing it for you guys, so you guys are more than welcome to pose the questions that you had to the panel. I'm just going to take a round of 5 hands per round, and then from there, we'll cap it and move on to a second round. So I saw one hand, I saw another one there, I saw a third one here, fourth, and a fifth. You'll go in the second round. Right, so we'll move in that fashion. Number 1 over there in the second table from my left, number 2 here, number 3 spare, 4, and then we'll move 5 at the back. Can we get them a mic, please?
So my thing is, based on what Olusanda said, and also what Gary said about education, my problem is, or my question is to everyone is, are we advocating or are we educating people in a right manner? Like based on what Olusanda said, like you cannot go to an adult or Maukulu and say that this and everything. But also not only about Abanabadala, but also us, are we advocating? Are we making sure, like, because of we may think that we explaining something to someone and we may think that they've grasped it, but are we advocating the rightly? Because of, I know for a fact, everyone knows how to brush teeth here, Andicho. But how do we know that? Because we were taught at a very young age, whenever you brush your teeth, you need to circle your brush whenever you're doing it. But why cannot it be the same thing with environment or saving the environment? So are we doing enough? Do you think that we are doing enough? Because if we're holding these summits, how many of us are here? Majority of the people who are here are people who actually know something about climate change. So what are we doing? Are we doing enough? Nah, that's my question.
All right, thanks. Question number 2.
Hello everyone. My question is basically an extension of what he just said. Based on what Gary and Lusanda said about education, and since the whole thing about climate change has started, our thing has doubled up, and basically in the communities where we are and stuff, saying to someone that climate change is an issue, the world is gonna whatever in certain years, they look at you and like you said, I'm hungry, I don't have a job, I'm fighting poverty. So fighting climate change is the last thing on my mind. For us, everyone in the room here, climate change is very important up here. But for people that we're trying to educate, climate change is there. Because how can I fight climate if I'm hungry and stuff? So the way we're educating or trying to get across the message maybe should change. I don't know how. My question is, how do we change the way we get our education across? Because, for example, if I say climate change, I'm going to say, I'm hungry, I don't have a job, I don't have a place to stay. So that's the last thing on my mind. So we still have to get a message across to people that climate change is a thing. Worrying about jobs and food won't be an issue if climate change takes over and now the things that we say are going to happen actually start happening. Like the change in temperature is happening now. It's getting hotter now. Floods are becoming more severe and stuff. It's happening, but people still don't get it because that's the last thing they think about. How can we make it one of the most important things they think about? So that's my question.
Good afternoon. Mine is more of a comment than a question, and it comes with examples. So I think we can all agree that climate change is everyone's responsibility, regardless of background, regardless of color and whatever. So with that in mind, so what I've got 2 words that come to mind: connectedness and collaborations. One, with connectedness, I'm going to reveal my age now. With connectedness, looking back into the past, before we even spoke of climate change, I know that, for instance, traditional healers, the good ones, not these fashion ones that we have now, the good ones, when they needed a plant for healing, they would speak to Mother Nature that I want to use this plant for X, Y, Z. And then definitely that plant would grow back because it was used for healing purposes. It was not used for killing or whatever. So now, if we speak of connectedness, are we still connected with nature in that kind of way? Again, it goes to collaborations. Are these people now included in these discussions about climate change, or are we just speaking about it at an academia level? Again, if we speak about planting trees, if we speak about planting a garden, for instance, yes, we can do that, but there's times when there's drought, there's times when we are talking about floods. Are we including, are we keeping in mind the people that, referring back to the past again, look, growing up, I remember when there's rain coming, you knew that, okay, this was just normal rain. But the adults, they knew that this one is not good. Then they were able to chase it away. So such people, do we still have such people, or do we know of such people? Because when we speak now, we'll speak of people and then we say, if that name comes from a specialty of making rain, making it rain. So if we speak about planting a garden, what guarantees do we have that there won't be drought, there won't be floods? So such things, that they come to mind, connectedness. Are we still connected to this nature that we want to save? And again, who is included in the discussions about nature conservation? Thank you.
All right. Our third question comes from this table. Sorry, fourth and then fifth.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I have two questions actually. One for both Sis Lisanda Noputi and one for Uncle Gary. So I'll
Granddaddy.
shoot straight to you. So as humans, we always adapt, right? And I know we grow into knowing what's happening in the world and everything. So my question is it possible that we might adapt to the heat waves and all these climate change aspects that we have now? And my question to both Usisi Noputi, we as Ama 2000, as we say, né? Or the youth, like this generation now, né? We are very different to the old generation, as we said. So my question is, how can we use what we have now as the new generation into like promoting the awareness into climate change?
All right, thanks for that. Last question. That table right there.
Okay, good morning. I think I have a comment and a question. I'm not sure. But I think this debate or this discussion need to be taken into where we stay in the communities. You know, because those people, I think they need more education than us sitting here and having this beautiful discussion and talking about how we should develop and make a change in terms of a climate change. Then another question is, how do we involve artists in the space of climate change, recycling, and other forms of making change into the climate? Because I believe art is more based and more involved, and it can be more developing when it comes into that aspect. So how do we introduce art into that space? Unfortunately, I love art, so hence I will always raise the question when it comes to art. Lastly, I think I raised a question about extinction, you know. Science, biology, I think spoke more about evolution. And I believe we as human beings, we are people or we are the kind that evolve, you know. So in our discussions, do we have a discussion that speaks of that generation? How did they survive into the weather of those days? Ne? And now, this generation, how does it survive to the climate and the changes of this day in time? Then in future, how can they survive? Thank you very much.
All right, thank you for that. So in essence, we've got one question that was extended into the similar fashion, question number 2 and then 3. You guys are more than welcome to answer any of those. You want to go for it, Gary? Gary?
Uncle Gary. Uncle Cake Smasher. Okay, now you know who I am. When you see me in the street, you could say, hey, Uncle Cake Smasher. So I'm not going to answer each question individually. I think let me try and answer it as a group question. I think we have to recognize that climate change is the outcome of how humans live on the planet, and the same thing that jobs or the lack of jobs is the same outflow of the same system. So CEO spoke about his great-grandmother intuitively knowing what permaculture is. Now we call it permaculture. So what happened between his great-grandmother and CEO? Why did that education not come down the line? Did his great-grandmother say that it is my job to plant vegetables? I don't think that his great-grandmother said it is my job to plant vegetables. She woke up, that was her natural cycle of her life. And so I think what's happened to us, and I use it reservedly, is that we have separated ourselves out from nature, and we've then created a thing called an economy that has jobs or you don't have a job. So we in our communities, we say this person is better because they've got a job than this person who doesn't have a job. But if you went back to the great-great-grandmother, everyone in that community had a role that they played that benefited the community and the individuals there. And so I think it comes back to this question. So the key question is, can we adapt? Is there enough time? Can we evolve as a species? So we've been around on the planet, I think 200,000 years or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if anyone else knows. As Homo sapiens, so the species, our species, and there were 5 Homo species. We are the last remaining Homo species. So upright, standing, we know where we descend from. But we are destroying our own environment. We are our ability to live. We through our immediate focus, our want to do certain things, we're destroying that ability to live. We will not physically evolve fast enough to adapt to the heat and that. So we place our faith in technology. So we say technology will save us. So like you saw in my presentation, the rocket to the moon will save us. And you know that there's this man from Durban, he used to come from Durban, Mr. Musk, who sends rockets to Mars, and that we will save ourselves by going to Mars. But Mars conditions are very worse than any conditions on this planet. And if we're adapting to those conditions, why can't we adapt here? Why must we send people in a rocket to go there, and it's going to be a handful of people that survive? So I think and I think the last thing from my side is I'm a Madala. By the time 2055 comes around, I'm probably not going to be here any longer. But the majority of the people in the room will be here. And so my generation has created a problem that your generation is going to have to solve. And whenever I talk like this, I have to apologize, I have to say that we didn't see it. We didn't see what we were doing. We thought we were doing the right thing. So your generation is going to have to learn from us, from our inability to see it, but you're going to have to solve that problem. I wish I'd be around to see how you do solve it, but I'm not going to be. But thank you for the opportunity. I hope that answers my side of all the questions.
I'll give it a go. I think I'm audible, right? Okay, I can hear myself speak. Mzi, as an artist, I think we're fundamental to the solution and innovation. As Gary is saying, he wishes to see. I believe so much in the voices of artists and their offerings. I've spoken Uneli. I'm not sure if you're aware of her. She's a singer. So we have Usis Poetic Soul, who has written a poem just to bring the urgency rather, and the reality of what we are facing. It's not like we sit here and speak so nicely of it. I'm sorry, I'm an activist by heart, so my heart will always be like for the people, right? So she wrote a poem about bringing it to light, and then Uneli wrote a song. So I believe it is in that where people can sing together the words with you, the information, that's how it can get to the people. I believe so much in facilitation. I don't believe in imposing ideas. I don't believe in getting into spaces and telling people what to do, because I also believe that our people have the answers. So that state of connectedness, Budwamu, if truly we do take the time and get to understand, about going back, abantu abamnyama bephila njani, and the different villages of black people really have the answers, because what you find is that we modernized over time, right? Saba moderni, and hence we are sitting here like this. Back in the day, I could use an example as easy as plastic, enamel. So already that's sustainable. That's something you can keep for a long time. So many of the solutions, in as much as we're going to be innovating, remember innovation is sparked by ideas of what already is, right? So I believe us in this room, especially the young people, if Tina, the knowledge that we have, which is then to bridge that gap, which Tina, we didn't have an opportunity of with all Makulu and our great grandmothers, for them to teach us how to plant, crop, and to take care of it, because we moved to the city. That's the reality. I remember growing up, Owama Makulu had a few chickens, and I learned how to tend to them. And she had plants, I learned how to water them, which is why I'm still connected to keeping plants till this day. So it's in going back that we go forward. And I'm not saying now we can change things and we can stop being modern. I don't foresee that happening. I think we're gonna go forward, but I think in essence we need to stay rooted in who we are. And that's something that I always hope to bring to people when I speak to them. And also something you said when I see you on communities, I think once you immerse yourself into communities, uke uhambe masithi uthathe enyuwan, uhambe pha endlovini, uhambe uyiwalke, and especially after it's rained and there's all that waste and there's and you see the kids playing in the waste, it brings it to your attention that, hey, they're not even aware of what this does to this child's health. They're just allowing it to happen. I understand that we spoke of them not having resources, but I believe just teaching people what's happening, telling them, informing them, maybe not even teaching, maybe it's a conversation, maybe it's a dialogue, maybe you facilitate the process of them understanding and coming back to so that we don't have to use our examples of the current flood that happened. We don't have to use, because there's different takes on that too. They say it's because the drains were not drained and the system doesn't work, so that's why it flooded. And then there's the theory of the cloud hitting the mountain, and that's why there were heavy rains, right? So we need to get to the people truly and speak from the heart. I feel like if you speak to a people, regardless of who they are, whatever background they come from, if you speak to them from the heart and they get to hear the urgency in your voice and the compassion that you have and the fact that you are saying to them, let's stand up together. I'm trying to empower you with this knowledge. And that's one thing I believe CYDA has managed to do. We managed to take young people who really did not care about this conversation, and we've made them interested. And they are now innovating in artistic ways within clothes. And fashion is the second largest polluter in the world. So us tackling fashion is not something that we're just doing for fun. It's very impactful. So I think it's also in finding, for Amatuke, it's finding things that are relatable to that age group and say to them, hey, this is something cool, maybe we should start thinking about solutions about this. And I'll never look down on communities, because I've gone to biogas is a guy in some community. These ideas are there, but if we don't give them the platform and if they're not empowered, then we'll never get to hear them. We'll always be looking to ukeri with the science. Kanti, someone has already taken food waste and created a biogas, and that solution is already there, but it's not getting the platform where it gets to be shared. So truly, I believe in our advocacy, we really need to think compassionately about communities, and we really need to be awake to the issues that they face. And when we go to them, let's facilitate the process. Share the information you have, but facilitate it. Don't tell them what to do. Help them see what they could do, and then they are more inclined in acting on it. I'm not sure if I've maybe answered many of the questions. If there's anything that is at heart and you feel like you want to talk to me about, I'm here. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah?
We still have time.
Just a brief one.
Just 2 minutes.
Yeah, closing remarks.
Education. So, education on climate change exists in CAPS from grade 4 up until grade 11. The teachers will correct me. Ukhona or climate change ku CAPS miss. In every school in South Africa, the government has made sure that there is education in our schools, in every school. Now, this will differ from school to school as to how the teachers operate the content, which means you will find a school that is very heated on climate change and that they do everything like Kibika Primary. And some schools won't be at that extent. But to speak to education, abantwana baqala kwa grade 4. I'm not speaking for a government, I'm just saying what exists right now. The gentleman made a very nice analogy of brushing your teeth. You don't wake up as a child knowing how to brush. It takes practice. You practice how to brush your teeth. It's the same with this work that is individual work. With the recycling, with growing food, it will. I didn't know what I know now overnight. It takes practice. And to introduce this type of mindset and thinking and changes in communities will take practice. Wherever you are in the world, for you to master whatever you want to master, you as the individual will have to take the time to practice whatever it is that you want to achieve. It's the same with recycling, same with growing food, etc. I do dislike this mindset of, I'm hungry, how can I contribute to climate change? I really dislike that. When I started giving them wings, I literally only had 300 Rand to my name. I didn't have any other saving. I had 300 Rand, not as a continuous 300 Rand, it was the only money that I had. I was unemployed, and I used that money to register Giving Them Wings as it is today. And I grew it literally, by going from school to school, collecting, recycling. There wasn't a single funder that wanted to touch us because no one knew who we were. I grew it by walking from school to school in Motherwell. There isn't a school in Motherwell that doesn't know who I am. This is one of the educators there. We built it by practice, by doing the same thing again and again and again and again. There isn't a foreign government now that hasn't spoken to us because of the work that we've done over the years. So when people say they are in a position that disadvantages them, I like this young man because the questions that he asks are solution-based, and has a solution-based approach when he's asking his questions. That is the kind of mindset, and if that's the work that you guys are doing in the schools, great job, Linda. That is the kind of mindset we, as Black people, need to develop in our communities. If we look at the state of our country as it is now, in terms of what's been happening from the 29th of May until now, we need to take much more responsibility of our townships, regardless of where we are and what we have in our hands at the moment. That is all from me. Thank you.
All right. Thank you once again. The conversation can take a number of avenues and it can unfold in a number of ways, but I think we'll cap it at that. I do apologize to the hands that I had noted before in the second round, but I think we've exhausted the time. I don't want to keep you guys here for long. They're already switching off my mic, so I just think we'll leave it at that. And if you guys will allow me, I'd just like to give the panel another round of applause. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise and just diving into these various topics and handling them with so much grace and knowledge. I think for every one of us, I certainly speak for myself, that there's a lot that's kind of been switched on. And I think from here, it does really do justice to what we're trying to achieve with these luncheons in terms of sparking that change. And I do hope that in every little one of our corners, it'll have a ripple effect. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, please give them a round of applause as I hand over to Linda to call upon other stakeholders, and as they make their way down to their tables.
Can I just, with your permission, Mr. MC, just one thing just to say to Masifunde, thank you very, very much to your change makers. You are the guys who are going to make the change. And thank you for the opportunity for us to be here. We're not experts. We're all experts. We're just experts in certain parts. So don't think that because that person sat up on the stage, he's the expert and I don't do anything. You're all experts. And so to Masifunde, thank you for the opportunity. Thanks a lot.
All right, guys, you can make your way.
All right, colleagues, I promise we are about to end. It's been a long day. We could, I think, spend a day and a half just talking about these issues. But like Amanda said, we're going to keep it at that. And I know we had promised a few organizations that they're going to showcase the work that they do. Can you please keep it brief? I know probably Sive said you would have about 5 minutes, but let's just keep it to 60 seconds. Just short, brief, straight to the point. Tell us about your organization, where you're based, and the kind of work that you're doing. All right? We have 3 organizations, SWAT-COPS, Conservancy, Retrade, and NMU. Are they all present? Okay, we'll start with NMU. Over to you.
Hi. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Pali Santala, and I work for the Nelson Mandela University PV Research Group. So everyone here has spoken about climate change. So our focus is on the energy side. So we are currently doing research on solar panels. So we know that South Africa and the world globally is moving away from using fossil fuels to generate electricity, and we're trying to use more sustainable ways. But thinking in the future, like plastic right now, what happens with those solar panels when they come to the end of commercial life? They're going to end up as waste. So we are cultivating that thinking of what do we do at the end? How do we think about the end of life of those solar panels? Do we need to reuse them? How do we recycle them? And all of those things. So South Africa at the moment has very few recycling centers that are taking solar panels, but we don't do full recycling. So what's going to happen in the end? So that's currently what we are doing. I know we have 60 seconds ahead, like other things to talk about, but I'm only going to keep it there. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And then who's next? Retrade. All right, over to you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kelly, and I just want to say thank you to the Masafunde team for inviting the Retrade project and for me to be able to share a few things on what we do as a project. I've recently taken over from the founder of the project, which is Maria, a lovely, dedicated lady. She's overseas at this moment, so I'll try my best, so please bear with me with my few seconds that I have. So the Retrade project is a community-based recycling and social empowerment initiative which speaks to sustainably provide its members and its community with an opportunity to be environmentally responsible while gaining access to food and basic essential needs. So in basic terms is we have like a trade-in initiative where I know our panels and all of the ladies and gentlemen I've heard, they were speaking about, I'm hungry, how can I even think about the environment and things like that. But here we have an opportunity where we say, okay, you're hungry, and we have this trade-in initiative where you come with your bag of recycling, and then you earn points, and you go in the store, and you then buy some of the basic needs, like such as toiletries or any food items or blankets or anything such as that. So if you, I know time is limited, but if you want to know more, you can contact me, and we're situated right behind the Big Builders warehouse. And we operate on a Monday from 8 till 1, which is run by volunteers. So you're welcome to have a look, and then we'll take it from there. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, SWAT-COPS is not here, so we'll just keep it moving. All right. I think it's now to say our vote of thanks, Amanda. Thank you, thank you, Amanda, for hosting, for holding the space. Well, job well done as always. Thank you to the MCN team for putting together yet another beautiful luncheon. Thank you, Sive and your team. Thank you, Fu at the back there, always helping with the sound. Thank you, Ase, with the admin. Thank you, Kuma, for always bringing our change makers all the way from Udnek or Motherwell, wherever they're from, to this space. And thank you to each and every one of you who chose to spend half of the, actually almost full day of your Friday with us. We appreciate each and every person's contribution, and we hope that this was just the start of many conversations or events such as this one. We're going to have another luncheon. It's going to focus on the inclusion of people with disabilities. It's coming up. Please keep an eye out on your emails. We'll send you invitations. So we just send invitations to everyone on our mailing list. So yeah, thank you. I'm going to hand over to Amanda now to say thank you to our panel. Thank you.
All right, just before we thank the speakers for this morning and afternoon, I just want to note two things. First and foremost, it's this document right here, or this book right here. Spark Magazine is really quite an interesting magazine combined by the Changemaker Network, but I just think it's, in the way in which it's been compiled, is a beautiful document, and I'd like to encourage everyone to just take a copy. I know you all do have a copy, but sometimes people leave it behind. Take it with you. I've just in my spare time been going through some of the content that's in there, some of the activities that are there, and I really, really think it's world class, and it's something that you guys can take along with you. And in your spaces, we're speaking about facilitating discussions and advocating for this. Use it as a frame of reference. Give it to a neighbor, take it for yourself, familiarize yourself with some of the content, and in your discussions and dialogue, be able to use that as a frame of reference to help you in those discussions. But secondly, for those who are new in this space, and didn't get the opportunity to go through to the entrepreneurship space or the hub in Gamanda Street, I'd like to encourage each and every one of you to just take the time after the session to just go through to that space, check what they're doing out there. There's a huge entrepreneurship buzz happening there. So if you guys just want to check out that space and you want to interact with the out-of-school youth program there, take some time and just perhaps, it's a 200-meter stroll to Gamanda Street, and you'll be blown away by the work that's happening there, and you'll meet amazing people that'll be able to help you there. And last but not least, to our speakers this morning and afternoon, I'd like to just call you guys up. I'd like to start with Sia first, just to give you guys a token of appreciation, just to say thank you for the work that you guys have done.
Thank you, Buddha.
All right. Secondly, I think I'll call Lusanda. And last but not least, Dr. Cake Smasher. Viva. Hey. Yeah, to you guys, thank you for the work that you do in your spaces. I know you mentioned humbly that you're not experts, but you guys are definitely advocates for positive change. So thank you very much. And to everyone who's been here today, I know Linda thanked you. But from my side, I think it's been a wonderful morning and afternoon. It's been really thought-provoking. It was wonderful meeting all of you guys. To people who first being acquainted with, it was a pleasure meeting you. To everyone else who has been coming to these luncheons, I'm sure we'll see you again soon. For now, enjoy and take care.